Hello, and welcome to Writer Rant, author advice in 5 minutes or less because I have to get back to writing and so do you. So, this week I'd like to talk about something that I know is hard to find, but it's knowing when to start your story. There's a lot of stories out there that you'll be reading and you'll be reading, and you're like, okay, well, when is this going to get started? When are we going to get somewhere? When are we going to do something interesting? And as a reader, that's really frustrating because you're investing all this time into something that's not going anywhere. There's a lot of exposition usually in these cases. It's a lot of character development in the sense that, okay, you're getting to know all about this character, but nothing's happening. Those are the moments where you really got to look at your manuscript, look at what you're writing, and say, okay, do I need this? A lot of times, yeah, it's great as a writer to kind of get it out, get it on the page so that you know who the character is, you know what the setting is, you know all of these things. But sometimes the reader doesn't need to know that. A lot of the exposition can be done, like I said last week, in the showing instead of the telling, because at that point, you know the world well enough through your writing that you can usually drop hints here and there that your reader can pick up. Don't sell your reader short. They're not dumb. They should be intelligent enough, obviously, to read your stuff and get it just based on what you're writing. And so a lot of the exposition, you want to put that at the front. You want to explain, oh, hey, here's this world I want to show you, and I've created it. And that's nice and all that, but a lot of times it drags the story. I mean, heck, not Lord of the Rings, Star Wars. Like the first half of the movie, they're on the sand planet of Tatooine. They don't get to any of the exciting stuff until later. The trick is that they start with exciting stuff. They start out in space with, okay, here's your conflict, here's your bad guy, all that stuff straight up front. So they knew where to start, even if the part in Tatooine kind of dragged a little and could have been tightened up a little bit. The fact of the matter is, if they had started on Tatooine and then went all the way forward, yeah, I probably would have been bored and turned it off at that point. So that's another point of where to start. A lot of times you want to start with a good hook, something that's action-filled, action-packed, or a dramatic punch if it's not an action-type story, if it's a drama or some other genre. A lot of times you got to get that reader interested. And if they're not interested in that first chapter or so, I'm usually a glutton for punishment. I'll read it until about a quarter of the way in before I'm like, I don't even know what's happening. I don't have any conflict. I don't really know who the main character is or what his motivation is. And then I'll stop reading. But a lot of people aren't nearly as forgiving. So it's really you gotta get that hook of the action, but the action has to also show, okay, what's the main character's main attribute? What makes them unique? And a lot of times you got to show what's the conflict. So it's kind of those few little things that if you can have that in the first part of your story. I've read books, I'm halfway through and I'm like, okay, they could have started here and then gone forward and it would have made a better story. But then again, I'm not them, I'm not writing for them. But I hope that you take up that advice and look at your own writing with a critical eye and see, where do I need to start? Where exactly am I going to get the best impact to start the story? So, what are some stories that you've seen that have started in the wrong spot? And likewise, is there anything that you're irritated about right now in your reading or your writing? Leave me a comment below, and maybe I'll get to it in a future episode. This has been Writer Rant, and I'm Benjamin M. Weilert. Thanks.